Hey, how you doing there again, folks? Megan, of course, Brandon Wenzel. Come back at you, another offering off my sampler platter. Yes, indeed, folks, sampler review series videos I've been doing for a little while now. I go over there, try out food and drink items. I eat stuff, I drink stuff, then, folks, I'm going to talk about the stuff. I'm going to let you know all that you need to know about hopefully delicious stuff that time I'm doing this, folks, I'm not going to lie. We're presently in the tail end of an eclipse, apparently. We'll get to that, I guess. Folks, it's super simple format. I'm going to go over there and try out food and or drink items for you. Whilst I'm doing so, I'm yammering on about it for a bit. Whilst I'm doing all that, I'm inside my truck. Whilst I'm doing all that, folks, I'm wearing a super cool shirt. And folks, when I wear super cool shirts, I always like to highlight the super cool shirt. What super cool shirt am I wearing for you today, folks? Well, it happens to be my boom. It is my Pacific Rim shirt, what with the Gypsy Danger and such. Which, to be fair, I don't know how many people really think about Pacific Rim anymore. But Pacific Rim, it's a film that came out a number of years ago now, like quite a few, probably over a decade now. Definitely over a decade now. But basically, it was a movie about giant robots fighting giant monsters, which is just, that's totally up my alley. And went and saw it with friends in theaters, really enjoyed the first movie, although even at the time, there were issues with it. As time has gone by, like the Pacific Rim kind of has the same thing that like Avatar runs into, where like there was a fair amount of hype about it, a bunch of toys and stuff, you know, a bunch of neat things, but then it kind of fell off as like it never really seemed to develop a strong fandom, even though there's still clearly some love for it. The sequel really kind of fucked up the whole thing, man. Like the sequel is everything that the first movie, like critics of the first movie said that it was. It was just, but I do still enjoy the first movie every now and again, though honestly at this point I enjoy kind of the stuff around it less than the actual movie. But I'll still wear a shirt. Anyway, what am I trying for you today, folks? What are we doing here? Well, yeah, there is an eclipse going on. I got outside today. I knew it was going to be a thing, but I wasn't paying attention and I don't care about it. But it was one of those things where like I was driving out to go grab some food and I was like, why is it like weirdly dark out? Is it like gonna storm or like what the fuck is going on? And then like, you know, clicked in my head, oh yeah, there's an eclipse today. But anyway, that has nothing to do with, boom, the fact that I went out to KFC. And I went out to KFC because at the time I'm doing this, they just released their new line of Saucy Nuggets, which are basically their nuggets just in different types of sauce that they have. And I have now, this will be the final sauce review for the Saucy Nuggets. And I've reviewed their nuggets just by themselves a while back. But yeah, so I've been going through, I made use, they had an online deal where if you went over there, you paid $10 or more on an online order, you'd get a free order of Saucy Nuggets. So I went over there, I made my order up, I just reviewed the Nashville Hot, and now I'm on to the final one. What is the final one? It happens to be, boom, Korean barbecue, which is their sweet and savory. So let's give it a go, folks. Let's try it out. Well, with the Korea and such. Open the thing up. This one is one of their, so like, their sauces are very range in consistency significantly. Some are kind of watery, like the Nashville Hot. Some are like much thicker, and this one definitely falls into the thicker category, so. Alright. Alright, and let's do a thing for the thing. Can we get a thing for the thing? It looks like that. Ha 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 ha! Let's give it a go. Okay. Okay. It's good. Almost reminds me of a teriyaki sauce. But I think it's probably a little bit closer to like a hoisin sauce. It definitely has that sweet and savory aspect to it, though. It's the reason why I say I think it's a little bit closer to a hoisin is because it's teriyaki, and it depends on the sauce, obviously. But teriyaki sauce tends to lean a little bit more on the sweet end than the sweet of the savory. Hoisin tends to lean a little bit more on the savory, in my experience. And I'm not by no means an expert. This definitely, it has some sweetness, but it is definitely more of that savory, which I think is good. As much as I do enjoy like some sweet and sour, and they do have a sweet and sour option, by the way. I reviewed it. Go watch that video. I think that for something like this, if you go a little bit too sweet with it, especially with it being fried chicken, you could kind of lose, some of the herbs and spices and all that stuff. And just as a quick thing for anybody who hasn't had the KFC nuggets before, I'll just do a quick thing on them. When it comes to KFC nuggets, I personally wish they were a little bit bigger. That is my biggest grievance with them. Beyond that, they're a little bit more of a premium nugget than like your McDonald's and your Burger King, where it's very processed. It is definitely, it's nice, it's moist, it is that KFC flavor, which is either going to be a thing for you or not. Some people like KFC, some people don't. I'm more of a Popeyes person, but I have no problem with KFC, so I'm perfectly okay with their nuggets. The exterior's got a nice little crunch to it, so, just to kind of get that out of the way. But the sauce itself, it's nice, it's sticky. That savoriness, it almost gives it like a smokiness. Like it comes like, doesn't quite hit that, but it has sort of a similar kind of reach. It's also, I think this is probably the most flavorful out of all the sauces that I've had from them. Because again, it really has varied pretty hard. Like the sriracha honey I really enjoyed, but the flavor kind of fell off on it. With this, the flavor is really impactful, and like it does not fall off. It hits and holds. I like it to an extent. It also reminds me a little bit of the McDonald's sauce. Not McDonald, WcDonald, WC. They had their own little weird anime sauce that they came up with. This kind of reminds me a little bit of that. But, by the way, I reviewed that too, so go look up that review. Yeah, I think I like it overall, but two questions have to be asked. Would I get it again? Would I recommend it? Yes and yes, but caveats on both. I think for me, I do appreciate how much flavor is in this one, but it almost works against it a little bit. It is almost a bit too much. It's almost too rich. It definitely, I won't say completely knocks the flavor out of the chicken, but I can kind of see why they didn't load up the sauce as much as on some of the other ones I've had, because yeah, it really kind of takes over the whole thing. And if you're eating a 10-piece like what this is, it could be a little bit much for you. I think for me personally, this would not be a go-to for me. I think I have other ones that I like more. This one, I don't know exactly where it would fall in terms of my rankings. I probably still like it more than the Georgia Gold, but I don't think I like it as much as the Nashville Hot. So I think it would be a little bit actually further down the list. And I do kind of like it, but it's so much. I think it's one of those instances where they dialed it back just a little bit. It would have made it a little bit easier to just kind of indulge in. And by that same token, if I'm recommending it, I would still recommend it. I think it's kind of, it's fun. It has its own flavor. Again, it's got that sort of hoisin kind of feel to it. But by that same token, it's one of those things where it is kind of a lot in terms of the richness of the flavor and everything. So it might be one of those ones that might be a little bit better to share with somebody. But I do think it's still a good sauce. And again, it's probably the most flavorful sauce out of any of them. So if you do like it, you're really going to enjoy it. But anyway, 5 things before I get out of here. Have yourself a great rest of your day, spectacular rest of your week, monumental rest of your month, stupendous rest of your year, folks. Go there, have yourselves a truly Korean barbecue-tastic rest of your life. I mean, Korean barbecue, I need to get me some Korean barbecue. I need, because there are some Korean barbecue places kind of around me, and I've been to a couple of them, before I was really doing, the restaurant review stuff. I definitely need to hit up one of those places. I'd love to review one, too, so, and maybe at some point. Well, I got so many places I got to hit up. But anyway, final 2 things. Number 1, try to bring some positivity in your world. It's not always possible. It is, however, always appreciated. But what you do if you can't do all the time, I know I can't do all the time. Here's what you do, folks. You're going to try not to be an asshole. Folks, not always the easiest thing in the world to not be an asshole. Trust me, I know it. I live it. I'm out there every day with you in it. Life can be stressful and frustrating and just bullshit sometimes, folks. And when we find ourselves in situations where we have to deal with said bullshit, it's important that we go over there, at least try when we can. Take a step back, try to mitigate the level of assholishness in our lives, hopefully do better for ourselves and for those around us. Very final thing, folks, do the thing. Whatever the thing is for you, that's what I want you to go out and do. Folks, in my last review, I asked, of my audience, who I love very much, you're all wonderful people, I asked, like, hey, have you seen, I can't think of it, Pacific Rim, do you have any opinions on it? Here's what I'm going to suggest. If you enjoyed Pacific Rim, if you've seen it and enjoy it, do yourself a favor, look up a movie called Robot Jox. And Jox is spelled J-O-X. There were, copyright reasons for it. It is a movie from, I think, either the late 80s or very early 90s. It has a similar premise to Pacific Rim. In a lot of ways, you could almost kind of see it as a bit of a prequel kind of thing. I really love that movie, and honestly, I think it's way better than either of the Pacific Rim movies. Even though, it's dated, obviously. But man, if you enjoy some giant robot action, I think that one is just phenomenal. It's phenomenal. So that's my recommendation. But anyway,